Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So today we are going to study verse number 30 from the Bhagavad Gita. The chapter is the most confidential knowledge. This is chapter 9. So do you want to recite the verse after me? Yes. Apichet suduracharo bhajate mam ananya bhak sadhureva samantavyah samyag vyavasito hi saha. All right. So in this verse, the Supreme Lord is wanting us to understand the way He sees things or perceives things. All right, there it is.
In settings, you can find font size.
That also works.
This works. Yeah, thank you.
This is good.
Yes,
So you want to have a go at it again?
sure, bro. Sure.
Yes?
Yes.
All right. Apichet suduracharo bhajate mam ananya bhak sadhureva samantavyah samyak vyavasato hi saha. So since we are doing it line by line, in the third line, the word mantavya, we pronounce it like that. But when you do the entire verse, then mantavya is a part of the verse. So there you may not have to recite it as mantavya, but just mantavya. Is that all right? So if you are doing the entire verse in a flow, then it goes Apichet suduracharo bhajate mam ananya bhak sadhureva samantavya samyak vyavasato hisa. Alright? But when we are doing it line by line, then we could say sadhureva samantavya. Is it alright? Just some rules of grammar that are applied. Okay. So api. Yeah, you could go to the synonyms if you want. There are various ways that the dictionary would explain, give meanings to a certain word. The Sanskrit dictionary. the Shabdakosh. We generally use it the Nirukti. It is called, Shabdakosh is also called as Nirukti. Yes, Ukti. How do you pronounce it? How do you speak about it? So Nirukti. So Api is certainly, Api is, although, even so. Here obviously Api is referring to, it is a continuation from the previous verse. So Api Cheta, an emphasis on Api is even or certainly, okay, or although. Cheta, so Api Cheta means even if, even so. So there's an emphasis on whatever thought process that Krishna is going to express. What is the emphasis on? The emphasis is on a person whose qualification is Sudurachara. Achara or achar is actions. All right, it is different from achar. The root is the same, charan. So achar basically means that which is going to make your tongue go places. The tongue is going to have different experiences. Very, very impactful experience. That is achar. Pickle, isn't it? Achar. So impactful experience. As soon as it touches the tongue, it is a little different from the regular food that you eat, like maybe some vegetable preparation or some lentil preparation or milk preparation. So the root is the same. There is going to be places that you go. So Sudurachar, achar is your actions. Actions are based upon your intent. So when we use the word achar in terms of somebody's outlook of life, somebody's perspective, it means their intent. What do they stand for? So what does this person stand for? What does this person communicate just by his or her existence? Durachar. So Durachar is Duh Achar. Bad actions. Or actions that are not sanctioned. That are opposite of what has been established as good civilized behavior in a society. Just the opposite of that. It is called as Durachar. So a very, very benign understanding of Durachar is somebody who's a truant, somebody who's very naughty. So being naughty, they just do that which is the exact opposite of what is expected of them to do. That is a benign understanding, very, very, let us say, simple understanding. A very dangerous understanding of Durachar is a criminal. Okay? So that's the range. From being a little naughty, truant, to being a criminal. So Durachar is somebody who's engaged in wrongdoing. Now Sudurachar, generally the word Su is to glorify, is to amplify in the positive sense, correct? So it's just amplification in the positive sense. Do is amplification in the negative sense. So when you try to amplify that is already negative, what does it become? Very negative. So when you are trying to positively express a negative, when you are trying to exponentially increase a negative emotion, it is called as Sudhu. Does that make sense? Yes? So Sudurachar is the king of criminals. Someone who is a criminal of all criminals. So in the criminal world, if the criminals are helpful people, then a Sudurachar is a harmful person in the criminal world for the criminals. Maybe like a Don, but the Don hurts the regular people, right? This person is a criminal in the criminal world. Is a criminal in the criminal world. So in the criminal world, if they have some rules, some norms by which they work, like, okay, I'm not going to perform any criminal activity against you. So they may have some kind of rules and regulations. But this person breaks even the rules and regulations in amongst criminals. Now you get the idea of what is a Sudurachar? Okay. So a Sudurachar is in our terms could be a person beyond reform. In our terms, could be somebody beyond reform. Okay. Krishna says, well, bhajate. So now he's saying that even if this person is extremely wrong in his intent, does bhajan. Whose bhajan? Service, or is favorably inclined towards whom? Towards Krishna. And what is the intensity of his inclination or her inclination towards Krishna? Ananya bhak. Ananya. Ananya means Ananya means
without deviation.
That you can see there. All right.
And the name is stable.
Most of you are. Anyone is from the north of the Vindhyas, North India heritage? Everyone is from the south of the southern part of India here?
I was brought up in north.
Yeah.
Does it-
Heritage. I said the heritage.
Okay.
Uninterrupted.
Uninterrupted? Is that what you're saying?
Ananya is many, right? Variety.
Okay. Ananya. In your mother tongue, what is your understanding of Ananya? Forget English. Do you use the word Ananya in your native language?
Anya is other. Ananya means not other.
Many or different variety.
So Anya means variety. Ananya would be many varieties.
Opposite, I think. Opposite of varieties.
So how do you use Ananya in your mother tongue as a lot of varieties? Give me an example of the word, usage of the word.
अनन्या only name में आता है.
We don't know.
That is Ananya.
हाँ वही वो.
Is that-
Opposite of
Many.
Ananya is
We
Ananya.
never
It's
use
many.
Prabhu. Prabhuji, is it uncomparable?
Mhm.
Ananya.
Is it opposite of
Anya would be comparable, so Ananya would be incomparable. It makes sense if that is how it is used. Anya means others, so there is comparison. Ananya means that which is not others, which is incomparable. So it makes sense. See, you use the word, right? Okay, Anya means diversification, diverse. Ananya means convergence. Ananya means if your whatever your intellect, your attention has been diverted in so many directions, now Ananya, it has converged. What is that one point that has been mentioned? Ananya. Bhajate ma. So the conversion is towards Krishna's service, bhajan. Okay? Bhak. What is bhak? So Ananya is without. Does bhak mean devotion here? Deviation here? Bhak is, it means embodying. Bhak means assuming. So when you assume a particular attitude in life, when you embody something, that is called as Bhak. So what is the embodiment here?
Ananya Bhava.
Ananya. Ananya is the embodiment.
Stay focused.
So therefore, Ananya Bhak means your attitude is embodying the attitude of being focused without deviation. Now you understand why it is called as without deviation. Makes sense?
Yes.
So next time when you see the word Bhak, please don't think it is deviation. Bhak means embody or assume. Alright? So the word Bhak could be just Daya Bhak. What is Daya Bhak? Daya is mercy. If we say deviation, what did Daya Bhak be? Mercy deviation? No. What is Daya Bhak? That which embodies mercy or Daya. So that which embodies convergence and not divergence is Ananya Bhak. That means without deviation. Is that all right? Okay. Oh, somebody said yeah. So it sounds. Is it okay? Everyone is on the same page? A little bit. We'll just analyze a little bit so that it becomes interesting. We understand Sanskrit to be interesting. Related, if we can relate it to our usage of the language, whatever is the native language from India, then it's more relatable. So, api chetasu duracharo bhajate mam ananya bhak. A person who embodies undeviating devotion through his actions to Krishna, even if or even so, that person is suduracharo, or that person is extremely criminally minded or a wrongdoer, a big time wrongdoer. Yes.
Is it contradictory, right, Prabhu? How can that person who is extremely doing wrong can kill his ego and surrender to do devotional service to other supreme?
Okay.
Is it contradictory, right? How can they do? They cannot do.
Wonderful. Have you ever come across this verse before?
Yes.
Did you ever come up with this query before?
No.
Okay, so now we are there.
Okay.
All right. So wouldn't it be a very interesting verse to discuss upon?
Yes.
Okay, so let's do that. Very good question. So hold on to that question. Hold on to your query. Let us go a little ahead. Okay. Sadhur eva. Eva means certainly here. Eva means definitely. What is eva? What is definitely going to be the outcome? Sadhuhu. That person is a sadhu. What is a sadhu? What is sadhu?
One who does sadhana is sadhu.
Okay, one who does sadhana is sadhu. What is sadhu? Sadhu. Again, the word is su, so something very good. But the fixed. A person who's fixed in what? In goodness. So sadhana is goodness. A person who has good habits is goodness. Somebody is fixed in good habits is a sadhu. Now you understand what is a sadhu? Makes sense? So sadhu is simply not someone who has put on a dress like this. A sadhu is not someone who's put on a tilak like that. They definitely do that. But they are fixed in always doing that with their body, with their dress. Therefore they are sadhu. Makes sense? So sadhu reva. So this person, because of doing bhajan, what kind of bhajan? Ananya bhak, without deviation. So the person is fixed in doing that. Hence, because the person is fixed in doing that, the activity of bhajate has to be what? Sadhu. Okay? So sadhu reva, certainly a sadhu. And your question comes now. How is it possible that such a person can actually exhibit contradictory behavior? Correct? So Krishna says, hold on. Right now, what you have to do? Saha, that person, mantavya, my. You know what is mantavya? My diktat.
Mantavya means
There.
is to be considered. Yes.
Diktat. It is me announcing it. It is my order. Make sense? So your question is, how is that possible? Krishna says, hold on. First listen to what I am saying. My order is that you have to consider such a person a sadhu. So before you even ask how, first accept, then ask how. Alright? Is that helpful now? Krishna is not stopping us from inquiring. But he says, first, what is the premise? You accept that. The premise is, I declare that person to be considered as a sadhu because bhajate mam ananya bhag, because that person is doing without any deviation service unto me. Alright? Even though apichet, even though that person has all the intent, the person's intent, the person's just his core is to be a wrongdoer. So Krishna is saying, don't focus on what the person can do, what his intent can be. Focus on what the person is doing right now in the present. Sadhu reva samantavya samyak. And why does Krishna say you have to accept this as my word, my final word? He says, not because I am a dictator. No. Because somehow or the other, my processor is much more powerful than your processor. My ability to process things is much more quicker and better than your ability to do it. So he says, my processor has churned out this presentation of this person, of the following presentation of this person. Samyak vivasit. If that person is doing bhajan without deviation, the reason for doing bhajan is, and it is without deviation, the reason is samyak vivasita. Vivasitaha. What is it? You've heard the word vivasthit? Vivasthita. To be fixed. This is not vivasthit, it is vivasitaha. So viva means to be situated. Where is the person situated? Vivasita. Asit. You've heard the word asit? Kim asita vrajeta kim. How does that person sit? How does that person walk? So vivasitaha. Samyak. The person is completely samyak. Samyak means completely, totally. Samyak means total, complete, in totality. So in totality, that person's consciousness is exhibiting what? Vivasita. He is fixed in that determination. What is determination? Ananya bhag bhajate. The determination to unilaterally serve Krishna. So samyak, and is it that only right now when he is amongst us he does that? No, samyak, at all times, in all circumstances. The person is situated like that. He, what does the word he mean? Certainly, but here certainly is amplifying samyak vivasita. Therefore, he is it is a forceful presentation of the person's demeanor. It indicates that there is no other consideration. This is what it is. And there are no errors here. So samyak vivasita hi saha. Saha means that person. So with respect to that person, definitely his orientation towards me is the qualification that I am looking at, or is the quality that I am looking at. Alright? Let us go to the translation now. Can we go to the translation on the screen? Even if one commits the most abominable action, So wrongdoing is abominable. Okay? If he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly. So his diktat, he is to be considered saintly. Because, and then he gives his reason for that, because he is properly situated in his determination. Okay? So now, let us go to some analysis of what we are discussing today. So we have an overall picture of what the verse, what is the meaning of the verse. Is that right? Now let us expand further. Ready to expand further?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. Krishna here is very, very explicitly stating the potency of devotional service. Krishna is stating that the power of loving devotional service is so potent that it is indestructible. That potency cannot be destroyed by time or by how we process somebody's existence. Bhakti is not subjugated. Loving devotional service, which has been explained here, is not subjugated to our understanding of how people function. Is that message coming across? Our nature is to analyze people according to what we think is the proper functioning in a society. And accordingly, we try to bring bhakti under that purview. So, if we are, what does society say? Good things should be done early in the day. Later in the day, it is possible that our thoughts can go haywire and we'll not be able to have very good thoughts. So try to do as much good as possible during the day. So when is the best time to do bhakti? We bring it under the purview of that consideration. Best time to do bhakti is in the morning. Have you heard that or no? Yes. Bhakti is not subjugated to our understanding of how human behavior should be. For bhakti is so powerful that even if we perform it at the most inauspicious time of the day or of the year, it is not affected by the inauspiciousness. We are not even speaking about how bhakti can endow auspiciousness on everything, every situation. We are not even speaking of that. What we are speaking of is how bhakti challenges our way of thinking. Even after understanding scriptures, the potency of bhakti is such that it can challenge our understanding of how things should work. Because bhakti is indestructible. Bhakti is not under the influence of time, space, or consideration of interactions or behavior. Bhakti is completely pure, totally pure. Purna Shuddho. And being totally pure means it is not within the consideration of the factors that are important to us. We may find it helpful to look at devotional service through that perspective. That if one is truthful, then one can be a good devotee. Or we could say a good devotee is someone who is always truthful. We are defining bhakti according to certain qualities that do not belong to bhakti at all. It can be helpful for us because being truthful saves our time and energy, isn't it? So it is helpful for us. Does it mean that being truthful makes bhakti more potent? Makes devotional service more potent? No. Devotional service is completely independent. Bhakti, as defined by Krishna and the scriptures, is that it is completely independent.
Prabhuji, we say, right, Savasate Sura, in a good person, all good qualities come to rest. So how is it that somebody who is doing bhakti with such focus and determination can do abominable acts?
That's a good question. That is what we are going to discuss. Yes, please hold on to that question again. No, it's perfectly all right. Very good question. How is it possible? Because you should ask that question. Before we ask that question, we have to accept the premise that Krishna is declaring here. He or she has to be considered to be pure. The reason being, bhakti is not subservient to any other quality. Yes, we could say that someone who is doing bhakti will automatically attract all good qualities. So does that in any ways make bhakti more exalted? No. Bhakti is already exalted, and that is why all good qualities take shelter of bhakti. Even if the good qualities don't take shelter of bhakti, still bhakti is exalted. Bhakti is so exalted that even the bad qualities can take shelter of bhakti. Understand what Krishna is trying to say here. But the problem is that for us, we need to discriminate, because that saves our time and energy. Discrimination is not going to save Krishna's time and energy, because for Krishna, bhakti is pure. For us, we need discrimination. And that is why we ask the question that how is it possible? Because it helps us. Is that all right? Krishna and Krishna's service is not subjugated to what makes life easy for us. Therefore, if there are any value systems that makes life easy for us, we have to be grateful to Krishna for his kindness, because it is by his kindness that he is allowing those qualities to exist within the purview of bhakti, because it helps us. Now Krishna, he has, even Lord Ramachandra, he is Maryada Purushottam, but he shows certain traces of him being God. God is not subjugated to how we see life as being good, not good. So he sits on the ocean, he waits for the person to respond. The person is in his own world. Sagar, Samudradev is in his own world. So then what does he do? He invokes his potency. What is his potency? We think it is anger. No. His potency is that which makes everyone realize that he is not subservient to their jurisdiction. So it is not Lord Ram's anger that caused Samudradev to come. When he exhibited his potency, those who are not able to understand the greatness of Krishna's potency, Lord Ram's potency, they look at his potency because of their behavioral trait. They look at this potency as him being angry at them. Is that understandable? Yes.
I have a question on this. Many a times you hear that when you see a bad quality in another person, they say that you have that quality, so you are.
You've heard that?
Yes.
Yes.
So, is it a similar thing what you are telling right now?
Well, because I have a quality and I know that quality is bad, therefore I can see that quality and I identify that quality as bad in another person. I see the quality as bad, no? If I see that quality as good, like a person who's a thief, sees that quality as being cunning and able to kind of steal things, sees that quality as good. So if he finds another person who's a thief, if he says, oh my God, this person is such a great thief.
But you need to know what is right and what is wrong too.
I'm not saying that is right or wrong. What I'm saying is, the point is not that it is a good quality to be seen or not to be seen. The point is that we see that quality within ourselves, and wherever else we see that, we identify with it. If we have not seen a quality within ourselves, how can we identify with that? We'll be confused. Make sense? This is Nyaya. This is how logic works. If we want to really analyze a situation, then we have to come down to break it down to its lowest level, basic. I see a quality within myself. Okay? I have eyes. Therefore, when I see another person having eyes, I see that person also having eyes. Now my eyes are defective in certain way. So I think I have defective eyes. Or my eyes, I think, are very good. So I think I have good eyes. When I see another person also similarly exhibiting that which I see within myself, hence I think that they also have good eyes or they have defective eyes. Alright? What I see is what I can identify with. This is the external way of understanding things. Intelligence works differently. Intelligence analyzes things beyond just what we see. Okay? For Arjuna to be shooting bows and arrows and taking someone's life, an intelligence sees that, oh, Arjuna's arrows are stopping people that could harm society. So then, even that violence is beneficial for society. Is it going to be beneficial for Arjun? The only way that can be beneficial for Arjun is if Arjun is detached from his actions. Is that okay? Alright. So potency of bhakti. We understand what is potency of bhakti now. So this is what Krishna is trying to explain here. Let us hear an analogy now. There is a very, very rich person, a trillionaire. Okay? Anyone who is going to be a trillionaire very, very soon. So there are predictions that the richest person right now could be a trillionaire by 2027, 2028. We'll have the first trillionaire in our history. Do you know that? Okay. This is news I'm sharing because I received that news. So, the richest person who's a billionaire right now, Musk, is predicted to become a trillionaire as the economy is kind of going, the world economy. There seems to be that it is multiplying. So there's a prediction, right? So let's say there is a trillionaire. This trillionaire calls you up. Is that okay? And he says, I would like to give you $500,000. Would you be happy with that? Yeah, why not? Obviously. Never say no to a good gift. Be happy about it, right? Then the trillionaire decides to give another $1 million to, let's say, yourself. Will that be okay? Both of you. Each one of you gets $1 million from the trillionaire. Now the news spreads. So one of you in the back, you reach out to this person, to the trillionaire, and you say, sir, could you also give us some donation? The trillionaire says, okay, you take another $1 million, you take another $1 million. So you go back to him and say, what about me? You just give me $500,000. So he says, all right, you take another $500,000. So there's $4 million given in donations right here. For the trillionaire, does it take great effort to do that? Okay. Now this trillionaire may also want to give money to somebody who society thinks is a wrongdoer, in the hope that the person may use that money and improve his life and may become a contributor to society. Is it possible a trillionaire may do that? Have you heard of philanthropic people doing that? They try to help somebody who's been a criminal, and they think that if they could help that person who's a criminal, then the person may give up the reasons for being a criminal and become a good citizen. The idea is that the person should become a good citizen. Why? Because a criminal tries ways and means to rob society. If you're a good citizen, then you'll pay your taxes. So you help society, isn't it? Right? So a trillionaire has so much money, and that money gives that trillionaire so much security that even if the trillionaire gives $1 million and is unaware of who the money is going to, if somebody comes up to a trillionaire and says, do you know the person that received money? That person has written so many hateful articles about you on the net. The trillionaire is like, all right, it doesn't affect me. So he's not very much disturbed by that. Krishna is like that trillionaire. So when he says that even if a person performs abominable activities, if the person shows an inclination to do devotional service without deviation, I consider him to be a sadhu. I give him $1 million. I give him my mercy. What is Krishna's mercy? Anyone who receives Krishna's mercy is a sadhu or not a sadhu? So he gives his mercy. That is his kindness. So he gives his mercy to that person, right? So that person has received Krishna's mercy, hence he is a sadhu. Now should we consider that person to be sadhu or not a sadhu? Sadhu. That is all Krishna is trying to tell us here. That you should consider such a person to be a sadhu because I give my mercy. And why can I give my mercy? Because I'm a trillionaire. My money is mercy. Right? My mercy is worth $1 trillion. And I give $1 million to this person or that person, even if that person has inclination to do good. Bhajate mam ananya bhag. Alright? Yes.
So in this, it says that because he's properly situated in his determination. So as your analogy, like the trillionaire give 1 billion because they have enough, right? But how does one understand that if it is properly situated or not? Because there's a word like properly situated in his determination.
Correct.
So how do we say that? Okay, for Krishna knows that is sadhu.
Yes.
But for like me, how do we know that is sadhu or not?
Very good question. So before we try and analyze how do I understand, Krishna has already given his farman, his diktat.
Yes. Yes.
So again we have to analyze everything with that premise in mind. But Krishna has already said, so should I go and approach it that how do I understand? Or should I approach it that what is Krishna's understanding and is it in sync with my understanding? Will that be helpful? So we are trying to understand what is it that Krishna is seeing. And then we'll try to see if it helps us to have that vision, or should we approach Krishna and say that, hey Krishna, this is good for that person, but for me, I still have my doubts. And that's perfectly okay. We can always approach Krishna with that. Is that okay? We can take that consideration here, that what I am is what I see. But I'm not saying that is the only consideration. I'm not making it the basis of the reasoning that Krishna has. That because, if Krishna says that a person is a sadhu, but I can see that person performing abominable activities. And Krishna says, well, he may be performing abominable activities, but within his heart, he is completely dedicated to me. I do not understand how a person can be completely dedicated to Krishna and also do abominable activities. Right? What is Krishna's perspective in that? It is his kindness. Okay? So, should we try and make ourselves a victim? That because I have some criminal mentality, therefore I can see somebody else being a criminal. Is that healthy for us? That is one approach, right? That was one approach that we have heard, that if you know what is wrongdoing, then you can understand somebody else doing wrongdoing, and therefore you question that how a person like that can get mercy. Is it possible or is it contradictory? Another approach here could also be that if that person is getting, and I understand that person is a wrongdoer, and the reason I understand that person is a wrongdoer because I to a certain extent am engaged in wrongdoing, will I also get the mercy or not? Well, there are so many ways we can approach this. Which is the most healthy way to approach? Which is the most optimistic way to approach the situation?
No matter
That could be under consideration.
no matter what wrongdoing, he is son.
That is Krishna's consideration. We have our doubts. We have to clarify our doubts, no? Krishna's consideration is there. But is Krishna a dictator, or is Krishna somebody who is a friend within our heart, ready to have a discussion? Well, the premise is that Krishna is a friend within our heart, ready to have a discussion. So he has put forth his point and he's made very clear that this is my consideration. So now we have to accept his consideration. But is it going to be blind faith, or is there going to be inquiry? So Krishna gives room for inquiry because he gives a reason why. So we can definitely inquire from Krishna. Alright? Yes. I like it because I haven't even opened up the discussion. Really. I'm just on Apichet. I haven't even reached Sudaracharo. And during this discussion, we are going to take each word and analyze it. Each line and analyze it. So, now onwards, I'm just going to say that please hold on to that. Right? Let us go forward in the discussion. Hold on to that. And towards the end of the discussion, if we have not addressed that thought, then we'll try and see if we can address it. Is that okay?
Okay.
So till now, I have tried to be lenient with myself. But okay, let me address, but let us go ahead now. Is it okay? Yes? Okay. So api chet. So now we have understood, Hare Krishna, we've understood. We've got kind of a, what is it called as? Top-down view. Krishna is a boss there. He's a supreme personality of God. He said, this is what I expect. I understand that you have different considerations. Your expectations are a little different. Let us go. Let us now have this discussion. The idea that this could be contradictory is already challenged by Krishna, that it is not contradictory, by saying api chet. He says, even if. So Krishna says, yes, I understand. You are having a challenge. Resolving this within your consciousness, all of us, as the audience. He says, therefore, even if. What does it mean? What does even if mean? Even if the person is
Not perfect.
performing abominable actions, so durachar, right? Achar, a synonymous word for achar is also kriti. You've heard the word kriti? Action, activities, right? In the previous chapter, Krishna has said there are certain people who will never ever be able to approach him and get his mercy. And he's called them dushkritinam. Similar to duracharinam. Durachar is used. So when Krishna is saying even if, he says those people who are dushkritinam, I'm addressing not just their intent but also their action. And generally our actions is based upon our intent. It's very difficult for us, unless and until one is trying to be hypocritical, it is very difficult to separate our intent from our actions. Correct? So only when typically one is trying to be hypocritical, That is where we separate our intent from our actions. Is it right? Can there be a situation where one's intent and our actions are different, but it is healthy, it is not harmful, it is not hypocrisy?
But you started the verses that meanings. You started with the sentence saying that here the intent is extremely durachar ka durachar. You said that the intent is extremely bad, but his action right now into devotional service is ananya bhav. But his intent is extremely bad, but we are not looking into that.
Okay.
So the intent and the actions are contradictory to each other right now in
Correct.
the situation, right?
And it is harmful, right? This person could be hypocritical.
Yes, basically.
Hypocrisy. Can hypocrisy be good? Can it bring about some good? Think. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Somebody says yes. Because no, we already know no. Yes. Give me a quick example. Yes.
Yeah, fake it till you make it. Maharaj Vasishta Prabhu says, fake it till you make it. So even if a person has an intent of doing criminal actions, but he's into Ananya Bhag of devotional service, he's just performing devotional service, eventually with his devotion, that intent could turn into a good intention. So that is faking until he makes it. So he is an hypocritical right now because his intent is bad. But his actions right now is maybe devotional service, going to temple, doing everything that we see outside.
Okay.
Mahase.
Okay.
Right? So
All right.
eventually that thing can overtake his intent, and his intent can also get purified and become aligned.
So intent is good. His actions also is trying to do accordingly. However, falls short in his actions.
No, his
Intention
Or
is
falls
bad.
short in his intent.
Intent, yes.
So the intent is to be not good.
Not good. That's what we started the Durachar with that word.
No. Fake it till you make it. Therein the
That
intent is
fake
to do not good.
No, the intent is not good.
No, the intent is good.
No, intent is good.
Intent is also good, but we do not have the strength.
Yeah, नहीं मैं वैसे नहीं उसको use कर रही
No,
हूँ.
no, but you are making analogy is
No,
not correct.
it is good. It is good because there is some differences between the intensity of the intent or the quality of intent. The quality of the intent is that I will try and do my best.
Eventually it will get better. वैसा.
The action
I'm
is
not going there.
that I will present what is best.
Okay.
Right?
But here my intent is really bad.
I'm asking a situation where your intent will be different from your action. However, it is for the good. Prabhupada gave a very, very nice example. Think. It appears to be hypocritical because the child will feel that it is hypocrisy. And the child will feel cheated if the child knows what is the intent of the parent. Give me the example fast.
This is not to eat sweets.
Medicine. What does the parent do?
Yeah.
It's very nice.
Bitter medicine.
Bitter medicine.
It tells you it's good for you. Yeah.
How?
But putting in rasgulla.
We can put in sweets, we can put in aloo.
Sorry.
I usually
Yes.
Yeah, whatever.
Does the bitterness go away? Or there is some bitterness felt,
But it covers.
but it is overwhelmed by the sweetness that is there. Isn't it? So is that hypocrisy? No. There are certain examples like that where compassion or care or love may put us in a situation where the intent and the action would seem to be hypocritical. Correct? What is the intent? To feed bitter medicine. How do we do it? Cover it in sweet.
You
Right.
teach the kids to be honest, but we sometimes lie to them. Because
Exactly. That is the point. That is the point. Isn't it? It is acceptable. It is not considered to be.
like even to do book distribution, it says books on yoga, but we know that it's like
That's not going to debatable. Okay. So there we are. So what we are discussing is Krishna has said that there are certain kind of people who will never ever come to be because their action and their intent both are in sync. Clear? Here he is using a similar word. The word is
Durachar.
durachari. The intent is not durachari. The action is durachari. What is the intent? Samyak vipasita. Makes sense? Hence, the word is used apichet. Even if their actions are abominable, their intent is divine. Now, whether they can prove themselves to be, what is the translation of अपने इस बात पर खरा उतरना?
Determined, right?
Be true to your own words.
Be, if they can prove themselves to be truthful to their intent, that time will tell. That time will tell. Walk your talk, right? Or walk your intent. Time will reveal it. However, the distinction between this person and that which has been mentioned previously is that their talk and their walk is the same. Here, their walk is different from their talk, from their intent. And that is Krishna's consideration.
So the reverse, like your intent is not there, but you do good actions. But still, is it considered something?
That is hypocrisy, no? Because you're trying to do good actions to show people, however, intent is that you want to cheat them.
Okay. Not even cheat, like even if you're neutral, then also it's not hypocrisy.
So that is cheating people,
Cheating,
right?
okay. Okay.
Even if you're neutral, you're going to cheat them. People are going to be very easy going around you. That gives you benefits.
So, but you still fall into the category of Durachar, not Duskriti, right?
How? And should we take up that discussion now? है ना? दुराचार और दुष्कृति का अभी discussion, we are not bringing that as the main topic of discussion. We are trying to see why Krishna is saying even so with these Dishkriti naam. Because the Kriti is wrong. That we all agree, right?
Prabhu, can you give some example that we can relate? What is intent and what is action?
Or
Just
any-
a simple examples.
I will try and give that.
Okay.
We are coming to that.
Okay.
First, let us set the premise properly. What is our aim of this discussion? So this is the aim, right, which Krishna is addressing here. Even so, how can Krishna do that? What ability does Krishna have to say that actions are abominable? Right now in the present also the action may be abominable. Intent is good. Still considered to be a sadhu.
He has been doing since day one, so
Sorry?
he has been doing it since day one.
He said, no, mera dictate. It is my dictate.
That is what I am saying. It is Krishna's diktat. Does Krishna say that it is my diktat? No. He says you have to consider, and he gives the reason why. He's not just giving his consideration and says, because I say, you accept. Krishna is not saying my way or the highway. He does not say that. Alright? What I am saying is, for us, we have to understand that here this cannot be challenged. That is why I said, samantavya, it is Krishna's word. Because as soon as we think that can we challenge this, we lose sight of what Krishna is trying to imply. So we are not going to challenge that. We are going to try and analyze it so that it can be helpful for us. It should not hurt us. Okay, that is all our consideration. At the end of the day, it should not happen that we feel that we have been taken for a ride. That should not happen. Alright? So how is it that Krishna can express that? That sadhu reva samantavya. Krishna can express that because Krishna's devotional service does not make any distinction. And that is why Krishna can say that. Devotional service does not distinguish between somebody who's doing abominable actions or not doing abominable actions. Service is available to both of them. And since service is available to both of them, if they do service, somebody who serves Krishna is a sadhu. Hence Krishna says, Samyak Vyavasthita Isa. That person is engaged in service, and anyone who is engaged in service is a sadhu. And why is the person engaged in service? Ananya Bhag. The intent is there to engage in service. Again, our question is, then why does that person perform abominable actions? We'll come to that still.
Where is the need to perform an abominable action if your intention is to be in service? Because
Correct,
devotional
correct.
service is never abominable. You're doing service. You're constantly in devotional service.
If you look at devotional service as not being abominable, then there is going to be an issue. If you look at devotional service as always purifying, then there is no issue. Alright? Because then we'll have to take up a different kind of logic to establish that premise. That this is good, and hence devotional service cannot be abominable. But if we say this is purifying, therefore everything else is purifying. Is that alright? Okay. So because devotional service is free for all, hence Krishna says this person can also render devotional service even if there are abominable actions happening. Again and again I bring up this point. Even if, and we'll address that too. And why is devotional service so magnanimous? Because rendering service to Krishna is the very nature of the spirit soul. And essentially, every spirit soul is favorably inclined to serve Krishna. Some know it, some do not. Because of illusion, they are not. So should Krishna not see that potential? Should devotional service not see that potential? That is not possible. Devotional service always looks at the potential of every living entity to serve Krishna. And hence, bhakti does not discriminate. When bhakti dawns on someone, it does not discriminate. Just as the sun does not discriminate, Prabhupada gives his example, right? Does the sun discriminate between what we consider to be pure and what we consider to be contaminated places? No, the sun does not discriminate. The sun is so powerful. So the potency of devotional service is being expressed by just the word api cheta, even if. And that even if is simply addressed by the potential of devotional service. Another understanding is that Krishna says, I am a person too, but I am a person without any faults. I am a perfect person. Therefore, my personality will be reflected in the form of my emotions. What are my emotions? The attachment to my devotee. Anyone who performs even an iota of devotional service, I am attached to them. Right? What is my attachment? My attachment is that I remember what service they have done. Correct? Where in the Bhagavad Gita, this is expressed, that even an iota of devotional service rendered saves us from correct? We know that verse. Yes? So, devotional service attracts Krishna. Krishna becomes attached to the devotee. This attachment is the very nature of Krishna. And this attachment doesn't decrease even if the devotee commits actions that are harmful personally to the devotee. Doing abominable actions harms one more than it harms others. Is it correct or wrong? So Krishna will not look down unfavorably upon that devotee. Krishna will still try to give mercy to the devotee. No, that devotee has to accept the mercy and bring about changes in life. In this case, when Krishna says Samyak Vyavasita, Ananya Bhag, what is saying that even if such a person with bad conduct addicted to violence, or even sudurachar, adultery. This is from a commentary. Adultery. Everyone understands adultery? Like, what can be more abominable than that according from the point of view of civilized life, isn't it? That is what we consider like, don't break the regulative principle of no illicit sex. There are others also, no meditation, no intoxication. Like, no illicit sex is the big red flag. Sudurachar. So Krishna says, even if a person has such conduct, that person worships me and worships no one except me, does not follow any other process that is mixed with other intentions, but only the intent is serve Krishna. It is not through logic, not wanting to protect oneself from the reactions of one's actions. No. Totally dedicated. He says, because that person does not have any other desire but to serve, that is Ananya Bhag. And hence, that person is my devotee. He is a sadhu. So, apichet. We are done with apichet. Now we have to come to sudurachar. Okay? So, apichet. Even if still is a devotee. Why? Because my energy devotion service does not discriminate, cannot discriminate. The potential to serve is essentially there as our constitutional position, existence. And that is what devotional service sees.
Prabhuji,
Yes.
here basically your mercy that you're referring to is access to Krishna.
Access to devotional service.
No, access to Krishna, right? Basically.
No, Krishna is
I think
giving you-
devotional services you are doing something
we
more than
talked
that.
about it.
Yeah, but
Yes.
so access to Krishna is the service that the trillionaire is giving, that 1 million is yahan par is the access to Krishna basically. Right? In that sense that
Access to, yeah, a currency that we can use in life.
yeah, so that is a mercy. Okay.
Is that alright? Okay. Yeah, correct.
But how can one be even motivated to worship in that state of mind?
Because the potential to worship is always there.
That's like stretching in two opposite ends.
Let's say that even the most criminal of minds is put in a situation where wanting to help someone arises. There is a possibility that the most, let us say, most violent of all persons may try to help that person. Why? Because the potential to help is there. It is possible, isn't it? The most violent person finds a child walking down the street and feels like, okay, today I don't want to kill this child. Possible or not possible?
Yes,
Where is it coming from?
from the intent.
The potency is there. The potential is there. That is what is being spoken of here. When we do not see, if we are only going to address it without emotions, then it will be difficult. So we have to understand existence as also physical. That means we are made up of physical elements which radiates emotions. All right? Okay, let's go ahead.
What do you think?
If somebody, this would be how we look at things. If somebody is very, very abominable, and that is how someone has lived their life, okay, doing all abominable activities, and that person has not stopped himself or herself from doing those activities. In fact, the person has tried to amplify doing such activities in life. What is that person called as here in this verse? Sudurachar. That is why the word su is used in front of durachar. That has a person that has gone to the limits of that which is abominable. Sudurachar.
Very good at being bad.
very good at being bad.
Su, Raja.
Yes. Like par excellence at being bad. That person is being addressed here. And Krishna says, such a person that knows every little and big ways to be abominable. Sudurachar. Even if that person renders undivided devotional service unto me, without deviation renders devotional service to me, there is the greatest of possibilities that that person can be liberated in life.
It's like Ravana.
You can take, yeah. It could be Ravana, it could be Hitler, it could be whoever we think is
But that's not
big time
That's
Asura.
not come under the purview of bhakti, right? Because
I'm not
it's
saying it comes under the purview of bhakti. What I'm saying, if
Oh,
they, I all see,
if they
if that is what is being stated here. A Sudurachari engages, bhajate,
No,
is doing it.
many times when we read the shloka, we put an assumption when we read the shloka. In our minds, our understanding of shloka goes, even if one comes from, as long as he is engaged in devotional service, is an unsaid quote in all our minds.
Correct.
We assume that this person is doing devotional service.
Yes.
Therefore, if in the midst of this devotional service, there is a parallel track of abominable activities, it will all get cleaned up. And in the end, you should not treat them badly. This has been our understanding of this verse.
Right.
So as you work through it, it gets very confusing for us.
Very confusing. Okay, let us see.
Because
If,
I think we put a lot of assumptions into the
Okay.
translation.
Prabhuji, Ajamil.
okay,
Example?
Yes.
Ajamil.
okay, all right. Good examples, yes?
Prabhuji, like Krishna is considering them as sadhu, right?
Uh-huh.
But in his eyes, everyone, whoever is doing abominable but still doing some bhakti.
Uh-huh.
So that is what they're telling that this verse is about if they're doing abominable activities but doing little ananya bhakti, right?
Uh-huh.
But then in that case, there is no asadhu at all in his eyes.
Could be. It's quite possible.
So
we can
basically it's
draw
for
that
everybody.
conclusion. In this verse, he doesn't directly say that. We can always draw a conclusion like that.
And what about that verse where he says 4 types of people don't surrender to me?
We discussed that, no?
Yeah,
The difference
so
is that
that-
their intent and their actions are bad.
So
Here, actions may be bad, but the intent seems to be to render devotional service. We are trying to analyze how. How is that possible? How can a person whose intent being good can be engaged in bad activities?
It doesn't mean that the intent is to be good. The activity may look bad, but he's trying to do devotional service through that activity.
I don't know. Let us see. It's quite possible that that could be the situation. Let us see if that is the situation. Alright? Let us go ahead. So, now we very easily understand what is a Sudurachari. A person who is doing abominable actions, right? Who is used to doing abominable actions and is also presently, it is very much possible that is ongoing with his abominable actions, right? What is very interesting is, and what has surprised all of us is, bhajate. Who's doing the bhajan?
This was Acharya.
The Sudurachari is doing the bhajan, right? Many times in the Puranas we may have situations like that. We may see that somebody who slaughters animals is actually also chanting the names of the Lord. And we will be confused when the Puranic stories come like that. Sometimes we black out those stories. But the Puranas explain situations like that, isn't it? For example, even the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was saved by a fisherman. What was the fisherman doing there?
He was catching fish.
And what was he chanting when he saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? He became fearful. He started chanting the Narsingha mantra. Did you know that? Yeah, he was chanting the Narsingha mantra. the Narsingha mantra that he knew. It's not necessarily that it is the same Narsingha place. Okay? Alright? So let us come back. This is the person that is doing bhajan. And that is the surprise.
What kind of bhajan, Prabhu?
Ananya Bhak.
Ananya Bhak. That is very clear. Undivided steady devotion. Yes. It's going to be a problem because we have so many assumptions already in life. It is going to be a problem. Correct. His Sudurachar is not just in the present times, it has been his life in the past too. So that has not changed. His bhajan is in the present. Therefore, Krishna is addressing his bhajan in the present, and he is saying how that can.
Is the promise of the future.
No. He's saying how that can affect his Sudurachar or his actions. How will it affect his actions? Okay? So, it is very clear because of so much of his previous habits, his previous behavior, conditioning, correct, thank you, his previous conditioning would definitely force him to do activities that are abominable. So conditionings are going to force him to do that. That is for sure. There's no doubt about it. Does he have any conditioning of rendering devotional service? Seems it's not there. Still the person is making the effort to do bhajan. What kind of bhajan? Ananya Bhak. Right? Steady bhajan, steady service. Because his attempt to do steady service is there, it basically shows and that what he's trying to accomplish is brilliant. And if we try to understand that, then we'll see the distinction between what Krishna is trying to see and what we are considering. His conditioning is to be attracted to so many activities for his own selfish pleasures. His abominable activities is just for that. Now he's trying and making a very, very good attempt at selflessly serving Krishna. That is what is called as steady devotion without deviation. Krishna is looking at him that this person is trying to serve me without any intention of wanting wealth, wanting status, wanting some honor, or even wanting pleasure in life. That is a huge leap that this person is taking. It is a leap of great faith, in great faith that the person is attempting. And because that person is attempting to make Krishna the only goal, pleasure of Krishna the only goal of his actions right now, parallelly the conditionings are forcing him to engage in abominable activities. His intent is not to be distracted by it. So the actions are going on because conditioning is there. His attempt is not to be distracted by it. In fact, his attempt is to be focused only on Ananya Bhakti. Imagine his predicament. Imagine the big struggle that this person is going through. And when you look at the struggle that this person is going through, then you'll realize the greatness that is there in this person. His previous conditioning is forcing him to do that which is abominable. That could be a very easy distraction for him. He could always say, my conditionings, Krishna, I'm so sorry. He is not falling for that.
He's trying despite that.
He's so desperately not being distracted. And why is not being distracted? It is not that he's trying to not to be distracted. His actions are going on, which can be a distraction for him. But his intent is very clear. My dear Lord, I want no one but you. That is a huge fight that this person is going through. And therefore, it seems to be very glorious now. Whether he will be successful or not, we'll see. Time will tell. But it is an attempt at doing that. And wanting to struggle in doing that. And wanting to succeed in his struggle. Despite his body, his senses, his previous conditioning in his mind, in his consciousness, all going against him. It is just his conscious attempt now. It is his pure consciousness now. Somewhere that pure consciousness is raising up its head. And he's betting everything on that. That is Ananya Bhak.
That is that Utsrichetam Atayadupate Sampratam Labha Buddhi. Is that what you're trying to explain? In that moment.
We'll also discuss about Buddhi. Whether it is Buddhi. Because his Buddhi is contaminated by his conditionings. This person is somehow or the other is trying to just, what is it called as? Bhedam.
Undivided.
Just trying to pierce through the conditionings of his senses. He's trying to pierce through the conditioning of his mind and his intellect. He's trying to pierce through the conditioning of his false ego.
It is all us basically, that our sadhakas, we are like that only, right? So last janam mein we have been some Gurachar only. This janam mein we are trying our hard to do devotional service.
Even
mind
And
watching.
if you want to identify that with that person, it is perfectly all right. We are trying to understand why Krishna calls that person a sadhu. That is all. We are trying to just do that. Afterwards, we can try and
because we were trying to find out an example of who this person could be.
This is every sadhaka life, right?
Basically, we are struggling every day to stay on this path
one who's
because our
struggling more than
conditioning
you.
is there, right?
Okay.
All of that.
Yes.
But we are not sadhus. But yeah.
Not yet.
All right. We are not sadhus. We are struggling. Maybe we are duracharis. But is it that kind of durachari? Questionable.
We don't know because you said last janam also, right?
We could be such duracharis in the last janam. So should we try and become a victim now? Let us see if we want to do that.
Because his intent.
No, I'm
Yes.
not playing a victim card.
No, I'm not saying you're playing a victim now. What I'm saying is, will that be the distraction now? That is what I'm saying.
What
Because
brings
it,
him that thought?
what brings him the thought? I don't know.
Because you're saying it's not Sampratam Labha.
I've not even analyzed the words further. There's still two more lines, and each word has a meaning to it.
So
Each word has a meaning to
So
it.
what is, they are Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra. They all have their own inherent nature. Based on their nature, their worship.
That is what Krishna is addressing as apicheta. He's saying that even if they are in this birth, they are born in such categories. And they know what are their duties in such categories. And even while knowing their duties, they are performing abominable actions. That person is also considered to be sadhu.
Okay, so for a Brahmana, he would be performing at a different level. Versus a Kshatriya, when he is more politically driven or army or whatever. And so the how and the
We are only considering what could be the result of their actions on society, but what harm the person is doing to oneself through that mentality is much more dangerous than what they do to others. Committing violence on others is addressed in society, but wanting to do that, cultivating that attitude is much more dangerous to one. We may stop a person from being violent in society. How do we stop a person from doing harm to oneself by wanting to be violent?
yeah, but it didn't address the question of the four varnas.
Maybe it's not here. What I'm saying is,
Yeah.
Krishna is saying, even so, even if, which basically means that even within the four varnas, if they're performing activities that is not according to the varnas.
So what I understand, according to the Brahmana, because bhakti is at a Brahmanical level is very different than at a Kshatriya level or Vaishya level, Shudra level.
And is there,
Yeah,
are
I'm
you
just
trying to
asking
give
as a
some
question.
support, some evidence for that bhakti is different at different levels?
In the sense, because of their conditioning, because of the state they are in. So, for example, a CEO performs at a different level than a manager, than an individual contributor, and so on and so forth.
So are you saying that a person who earns $100 and a person who earns $10,000, money is different?
Now, money is a little bit different category. I would say like a doctor's son has a higher propensity to become a doctor.
No. What I'm saying is, does money become anything different? Whether it is $100 or $10,000?
Money is money.
Money is money.
Money is
Similarly, devotional service is devotional service.
But
One's ability to express that may be different.
the intensity could be different, or the process could be different. The
Doesn't
way
make-
you worship could be different.
Yes.
It's like the cobbler and the pandit story.
But it doesn't make devotional service different. Different categories. Just as money cannot be of different categories.
So how do you define devotional service for different categories of people?
I don't. I never give a definition of devotional service according to different categories. I can always say that they are different according to how they practice it.
How they practice it.
But the practice of devotional service is not devotional service. Devotional service, the practice is just a means to be able to do devotional service. Alright? Devotional service is very potent. It is not subjugated to any of the distinctions and divisions of this world. That is what Krishna is trying to prove here. When he says, Sadhur eva samantavya, because that person is doing devotional service, this shows the potency of devotional service. It does not discriminate between somebody who is a criminal or somebody who is an elevated saint. The nature of devotional service is not to discriminate. Okay?
In whatever form you worship, it's okay. In whatever
I'm not saying in whatever form. I'm saying what is devotional service? Like Krishna. Who is Krishna? Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I may worship Krishna as the greatest Lord. Somebody may worship Krishna as an enemy. Does it affect Krishna's position? No. Krishna is Krishna. Similarly, devotional service is devotional service. Alright? Okay. So, because the person's goal is this now wanting to serve Krishna devoid of any material desires. Any material desires based upon his past understanding of society, based upon his needs in this life, which is referred to by the word Ananya Bhag. Hence, Krishna says, such a person is a sadhu. Now let us see, because in our practical experience, we should be able to understand how can such a person, although forced to perform abominable actions based on conditioning, get this desire to render unmotivated devotional service. Okay? So there are few ways that can happen. These are not the only ways, but there are few ways this can happen. One way that this can happen is if such a person is in grave danger, very grave danger, and does not get help from any quarters, so totally helpless. In that situation, if the person remembers the words of another person, like a saintly personality, or has heard something from the scriptures, remembers those words, that if there is no one to help you, you're still not alone. Krishna is always there with you. Just remembers those words. And if you take shelter of Krishna, everything will turn out to be all right. In grave danger, because a person has heard somewhere and makes a connection at that point of time. Whether the person is going to be out of danger or not, just that attempt to remember that word, those words, that Krishna's shelter is always there, and therefore you can always depend upon taking shelter of Krishna. That thought can remain with that person and can be a life-changing experience of for that person.
That qualifies him.
And thus that person can, although the conditionings will push that person towards abominable actions, because the person has experienced that and has invoked some faith in those words, such a person could be in this situation. Okay, that could be one situation. Another situation is the person somehow or the other comes in an assembly of saintly personalities, and maybe by their influence wants to dedicate oneself completely to Krishna's service. Will still have the pushings, because immediately there is not going to be changes coming, right? However, within that assembly, that could happen. Another situation where a person could have that kind of transformation is if, whether in an assembly, picks up a book or listens on some transmission happening somewhere, listens to that. People like Valmiki, people like Mrigahari, somebody like Ajamil, they got such extreme benefits simply by taking shelter of Krishna. That could inspire a person to take shelter of Krishna. If one is in a situation which is very dangerous and is not able to come out of the situation, and lucky day, saved, starts wondering, who is the controller here? Who made this impossible situation favorable for me? And just that thought, that inquiry within him can make him read more or hear more or understand more about Krishna's devotional service and want to dedicate himself to Krishna's devotional service. Or simply gets noticed by a saintly personality. The saintly personality looks at him and says, oh my God, this person has no hope. However, I should not give up hope. And decides to engage his time and energy in that person. And the person reciprocates. Just by seeing this saint's saintly behavior, reciprocates. Then there is a chance that such a person would be inclined to render steady devotional service. Now It is getting a little clearer. What could make such a person do an activity like that? Okay. Our next confusion could be that would such a person be totally transformed, and would that person be very like an advanced devotee, like a pure devotee? Because the word Ananya Bhag could refer to a person becoming a pure devotee. So would that person be constantly remembering Krishna, chanting Krishna's names?
There's no guarantee.
Yeah, may not be.
That is not the point.
But the verse says no. The verse itself says no. So we don't even have to assume. And because we don't have to assume, therefore we don't have to be confused that would that person become so pure immediately? How is it possible? How can a person become so pure? Correct? Because the person is simply making his utmost attempt that, my dear Lord, I am yours and you are mine. That is the only attempt he is making. His actions may be different. Hence, is not completely purified as yet. But Krishna says he is a sadhu because he is making that attempt and he doesn't want to do anything else. So sadhur eva samantavya. Then can we say that whenever the person is showing the intent and we can understand and we can identify his intent at wanting to completely dedicate oneself to Krishna, can we say that at that time the person is a pure devotee, a sadhu? And whenever the person is doing abominable actions, can we say that now the person is in delusion? Possible, right? Because it becomes easy for us that yes, that person, whenever the person is in delusion, that person is doing abominable actions, and whenever the person wants to render devotional service, that time the person is focused on trying to render devotional service. So Krishna says, sadhu eva samantavya. Always. Always is a sadhu.
It's like the sun behind the clouds. It comes and goes, the sun stays. Krishna's determination is it stays. His intention and effort.
Mercy is available whether you're not there now or not.
Correct. Krishna is saying, I see what you don't see. Because what you see is based upon your conditionings. So what Krishna is saying that because of our conditionings, we are going to have these confusions. So I see what you see. What you may see or you may not see. I see all. You may not be able to see everything. Why are you not able to see everything? What is this conditioning? It is very typical of human behavior to just surrender to such conditioning. Let us take an example. There is amongst our community a very, very sincere person who is very dedicated to serving in all the ways that we know is the best way. A person within our community, right? We know that person quite well. The person has been every single day offering the same intent of service for the past 25 to 30 years. Okay? One day we are driving down from Mountain House to San Jose. We are driving down the street. And we say we see that person at 10 o'clock in the night coming out of a very, very active pub. and we are just passing by, our conditioning is definitely going to make us have some doubt about his presence there. Even if we justify saying that, oh, I know that person must be there for preaching. Somebody brings up the point, why at 9 o'clock at the night? And we will doubt. We'll have a doubt. We may not express that doubt to others, but in the middle of the night when we are by ourselves alone, we'll be thinking, I have to tell that person to be a little more careful because people can have doubts. Basically, we are saying that we are having a doubt. Correct? So what seemingly could challenge our understanding of what is pure, even after 25 years of devotional service or proper activities, can bring in an iota of doubt within ourselves. Another example. Somebody that we know for 25 years and we know their habits in and out. We know that they can be very, very street smart. And then we are in Mayapur on the banks of the Ganga and we see the person shaven up with tilak, chanting on the banks of the Ganga, taking a dip in the Ganga. Would we immediately accept that the person has transformed, or would we make inquiries as to, is this good to be true? Now we may not tell anyone that is what we are doing. We may say that, oh, devotional service is so powerful, I know this person and I'm amazed at what the transformation has taken place. But in the dead of the night, and we are all by ourselves, we really want to be sure. We need to have all the data that can convince us that the person that we knew previously is now a totally different person. Is that correct? Human behavior? Hence, when we approach this shloka and take it at face value, it is those very conditionings that were preventing us from understanding what is Krishna's perspective. And we were a little concerned about it. How is that possible? How can such a person be considered to be a sadhu? So, samyak. So we've discussed sadhur eva samantavya. Why Krishna says that person has to be considered sadhu? Because we only see from externals. We only understand the intent of the person from what image we have collated, what image we have developed after collecting data through our senses, right? Krishna does beyond that. Krishna has access to much more data than that because he is the Paramatma. Hence, Krishna is not swayed by externals. Krishna knows the intent and the intensity of the intent too. And therefore he says, such a person, ananya bhag, sadhu revasa mantavya. And how does Krishna know that his the intent is so powerful? He says, samyak vyavasita. He's completely focused on only rendering service for my pleasure. He doesn't want anything else in return. I know that. And I don't need the sanction of any other great saintly personality for that. Right? Does Krishna need certification from someone here? Does Krishna need certification from one of the Mahajanas? Does Krishna need it? That Yamaraji, can you certify this? Vyasudev, can you certify this? He doesn't. Because Samyak Vyavasito Hissa. Krishna's actions are not subservient to his false ego. Our actions can be very much influenced by our false ego. Since Krishna's actions come from his true self, there is no trace of false ego. Therefore, Krishna is never in illusion. And our concern, Krishna will address in the very first line of the next verse. When he says, Kshipram bhavati dharmatma. There he addresses that verse, he addresses our concerns, because he knows, in spite of him saying that you should consider that such a person to be a sadhu, we are still going to have concerns. Why do we have concerns? Because we are concerned about our safety and security. And when Krishna says, Shipram bhavati dharmatma, we feel secure. Oh, okay, this person will very soon become dharmatma. Now I feel safe and secure. Now it's okay to accept Krishna's words. Isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So,
But he doesn't guarantee anything in this verse, right? He says the end result may or may not be. At this point in time, he is considered sadhu. Remember, he said we're not bothered about the result. Is he going to attain? Is he going back home? Is he going to become completely purified?
No, it's-
That's not the point.
I think it's more for us rather than him.
Basically, yeah, he's just telling us.
so
don't be
here in this
judgmental.
verse is introducing the topic of why he considers him to be a sadhu, and therefore you should also consider him to be a sadhu.
So basically,
He gives
don't be
reasons for
judgmental.
that,
Don't be
but
judgmental.
because he knows that we will not be satisfied by that,
He says,
Shipram bhavati dharma. He doesn't need to do it. Does Krishna need to say that? That he'll very soon become a dharmatma. He also doesn't need to do it. But Arjuna is right there. He is also looking at him like, hey. So Krishna sees that on Arjuna's face and he says, don't worry. Society will not be harmed by such a person at all.
such a sadhu, do we take their association or do we not take their association?
How do you know?
That's what I was asking.
So that's why don't be judgmental. Basically, end of the day,
And you take association, don't take
you
association.
take association.
Krishna is not addressing that
That is
point
not
in this
addressed here at
verse.
all.
He is not addressing that. What is being addressed is,
Not judge.
No. There is a difference between.
It's a different.
what is being addressed is,
Our approach.
okay, alright. Yamaraj, pure devotee, at least according to our Vaishnava philosophy.
Yes.
Mahajanas, perfect. How many of us would be eager to go to Yamaloka in the hellish planets and have association with him? Or would we like to invite him to our home and say, please come here? What would be our take? Should we go to Yamaraj's place, or can we, if we have an option, invite him to our place? Where will we be more comfortable?
Both of them.
We'll offer our business.
Both are fine, right?
Both are fine actually.
What will we be more comfortable with?
He coming to us.
Him coming here.
So are we going to take association of every sadhu? Or will we want to express our choices too? So we can always express our choices, right? What we cannot do is, yes, disrespect them, which is being judgmental. That we cannot do. Is that all right? If we want to associate with such a person, we can, nobody is stopping us. If we don't want to associate with such a person, no one is stopping us, because where we want to spend our time is our own individual choice. If we have an opportunity to hear from them in society, because society is making that arrangement, it is our choice whether we want to be there or not. We can, even if we don't want to be there, we should always be respectful towards them that they are addressing society. And we can always say that we are spending our time where our faith is. Right? Like Hanumanji's faith is with whom? Arjuna's faith is with whom? So will Hanumanji not come to serve Krishna? He did serve Krishna. How? From the flag. His faith, when I say his faith, what is he naturally inclined towards? naturally inclined towards, right? Hence, when he sees Krishna, he is thinking that, oh, this is the same Lord Ram. Just as Arjun, if he comes to face, or Bhiva said, when he came face to face with Hanumanji, he thought that I am meeting a devotee of my Lord. Correct? That is what he thought. I am meeting a devotee of my Lord. My elder brother, devotee of my Lord. So we can always express our inclinations. That is perfectly alright. It doesn't, and at the same time, when we express our inclination, it also indicates our respect for someone else with whom we are not there. Is it alright? Here in this verse specifically, Krishna is not addressing that, so we are speaking or trying to analyze beyond the verse that we discussed. Is that okay?
So, can you think of an example? Then I suddenly now realized that in the 4th canto of 19th chapter, when Prithu Maharaj basically, so Indra basically tries to steal the horses again and again. Brahma comes and says, and Prithu Maharaj tries to kill. Brahma says, okay, don't be upset by Indra's action. He's a very great devotee of the Lord. Although he's doing all these nonsense activities, so he should not be killed or whatever, because he's a great devotee and he has a role and responsibility. Except something similar.
Very similar, yes. Very nice. Thank you. Prithu Prasanga. Yes.
It's also similar to that verse where we say, even if once they chant the name of God, we are respectable because it is an effort to chant that name.
Very correct. Yes. Just putting it out there, we know so much. As soon as we understand a particular premise, we accept it. Don't we find so many instances to support that? Will it be possible for us to actually live by that? That is a possibility that we should look at. Buddhi, that we did not discuss that point, right? So, the word Vyavasita, Samyak Vyavasita. And previously the word Vyavasita has been used in conjunction with Buddhi. Where? Vyavasaya Atmika Buddhi. So, Buddhi has to be Vyavasita, fixed. Who does it? The person whose Buddhi is that. So there is a distinction between Buddhi and the person. There is always a possibility that the person can decide not to. Although the Buddhi is Vyavasita, the person can decide not to follow the Buddhi and do something just the opposite.
That is free will.
Correct? That is possible, right? But here Samyak Vyavasita. Here the person is situated. So even if the Buddhi is going against, which is abominable actions, because the person is situated, the Buddhi has to fall in line at one point of time. It has to fall in line, time. It's a matter of time.
Yes.
Okay? Hence, this is not on the platform of intelligence. This is the platform of ego. The person is giving up the false ego and accepting the position that I am yours, Krishna, and you are mine.
Accepts his
Constitutional position. That is also addressed? Yes.
Prabhu, if this falls in false ego in intelligence, what that person will do? This much he is doing in false ego.
That's why he's sadhu.
No, what if
His
he uses
actions are based upon the conditionings of the false ego. His intent is not coming from his false ego. What is his intent? Samyak Vyavasita. It's not his ego that is steadfast. It is not his intelligence that is steadfast. It is he who is steadfast.
Without intelligence, how we could do that, Prabhu? I mean, the Buddhi says something, but the intelligence we can do, whether it is good or right, then we can do. Without using intelligence, we cannot situate it in this position, right?
Okay, very good question. Let me give you a simple example from our daily lives. When we are awake, we use our intelligence. Correct? When we are awake, we use our intelligence. Sometimes we use our intelligence to see how we breathe too. It is not that we are in distress, but we are like, I feel very happy. We've taken a deep breath. We use our intelligence to monitor our breathing. Can we do that?
Yes.
When you are asleep, is there intelligence working on your breathing? Then how are you breathing? It's your false ego, your identification in the body that is making you breathe. It is not the intelligence. Because the intelligence is asleep, supt. Because intelligence supta, you are not even able to identify with the false ego. It is just a conditioning that is there. But in the false ego, which makes us identify with the body and stay within the body. Hence we go on breathing even at night. That's happening every single day. So if that happens every single day for almost 8 hours every day, why couldn't that happen here without the intelligence? Here consciously that person is doing, right?
That means Krishna is not fair for everyone. He is giving some people this mercy through his devotees or association of Supriti or whatever. He chooses.
No. Remember, he gave an example.
There's nothing about Krishna choosing here, is there?
The person
I
is the
mean,
one.
if Krishna wants action, that person who is an abominable doing actions, he cannot fix right. Actually,
Does that say that Krishna is not going to give him reactions? Does it say there anywhere in the verse? Krishna is saying he's a sadhu. It doesn't mean that every sadhu is going to be free from the reactions. Is that the understanding that we have? Right, we don't have that understanding, isn't it? Just because we are in devotional service, does it mean that we are going to be free from the reactions? We could, we may not. We don't know how it is going to be. Correct?
But the point is, we should respect them as a sadhu. That is the point. Even don't judge by their body, by their actions, or like that. Or
Krishna is not saying that we have to accept them for whatever they are doing. He's not making that point. He's saying that don't be judgmental in making them to be a villain. Because that would be an inclination to do. Don't do that. You are not comfortable with what actions they are performing. However, if somebody says or you feel that, oh, there is the intent is correct, or Krishna feels that the intent is correct, and you come to understand that Krishna's understanding is that, perspective is that. Despite all the confusion, we have to respect Krishna's understanding. That is all. Krishna says, therefore he is a sadhu. He gives reason why, and he says that, please respect my opinion. You can always steer clear of that person as long as you are not comfortable.
same, Prabhu, as you said, even in any any people's association, everybody is not. Some people are doing so much devotional service, but they're talking to each other or their behavior with each other is not so good. But what we do, we make a distance and we respect. Still, he is a devotee. We respect.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the same thing we need to do.
Is it the same thing?
Okay. So you are saying that is the application that you
Is that
find
how
in
we
day-to-day
apply
life?
this?
Yeah.
Okay, that could be the application of what Krishna is trying to say here. Yes. That seems perfectly all right. Yeah. Anything else?
It's a never-ending topic.
Never-ending topic. Okay.
Mataji took a wrong word.
Next lecture you're going to continue with the next verse, bro. Are you
I'm not,
going in format?
no. I was given this verse.
We can continue. On Monday, Sandraman, we have the class at
Next Monday.
it's 9th, so 9. So citizen to the day. 9 June. So we have it at Pranagopika's house. You can continue the 31st verse and continue with this.
Really?
Yeah.
And he is already described for you, bro.
Because we are all in the same group, right? We will come there.
We'll be back there.
All right. If you want me to do that,
Yes.
it's perfectly
On
Yes,
okay.
bro, it'll be really nice.
Monday we'll do 9:30. Continue.
It is quite possible that when I take up that verse, I may not even refer to this verse, because what we are doing
Very
is
interesting to see
What-
how you can disconnect the verses.
because that is what we are trying to do. We are just giving a verse. We are not trying to read the complete chapter of the Gita. We are not looking at the flow at all, right? Somebody just chooses a verse and they want us to speak on that verse. So therefore, we are just trying to extrapolate on the verse, not go to the previous verse or beyond. Only if there are certain references, then we take up from there. Because the format of the class is like that, isn't it? Is that all right? Okay. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Bhakta Brinda ki jai. Thank you for a very, very lively and interactive discussion. It was very, 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 very motivational. Very inspiring. Hare Krishna.